Hey Mom, I saw you picked out a new piece.
Yeah, it's this great vintage bookcase. I think I'm gonna do this finish that I've been dying to try for a while.
Mom!
What?
The garage is getting pretty full.
I know.
Yeah, Mom, aren't you worried?
Worried about what?
That you're becoming...
Dun dun dun! A furniture hoarder?
Girls, your mother is not a furniture hoarder.
Thank you, honey. I am a furniture refinisher. There's a difference. I'm pretty sure.
We know, Mom, we're just kidding.
Yeah, Mom, you're awesome.
Yeah, Mom, you're super amazing.
Wow, girls, thank you. Gosh, it's almost like I got to write your words myself.
But I will say, that pile of furniture is starting to creep me out.
Well, my grandma used to say that if you let things pile up, you could end up inviting in a junk demon.
A junk demon?
Yeah, it's like a cautionary tale for would-be hoarders because, you know, if you have piles of junk, it's like it's providing a place for something evil to hide.
That's freaky.
Well, it's just an old story. It's not real, you know, it's just to encourage you to, you know, not...
Fill an entire garage stall with furniture?
Yeah.
Well, didn't you say you were hearing things coming from that side of the garage?
Yes, but I'm sure what I'm hearing is a mouse, not a junk demon.
We should probably worry more about Franny's closet.
Hey, no, definitely under Ellie's bed.
Ellie's bed? No, Rose's car.
Yeah, Rose's car.
Yeah, crumbs everywhere.
Fruit snacks all.
Hi everyone, I'm Andy. Welcome to Furniture Fables. Enchantment. To influence by or as if by charms and incantations. Bewitch. To attract and move deeply, rouse to ecstatic admiration. The state of being under a spell. Magic. Can a piece of furniture live up to these words? Well, many a furniture redesigner, flipper, and artist have taken on that challenge by using as inspiration the now almost famous Anthropologie Enchantment Dresser. A nearly $1,500 gorgeous hand-carved 3-drawer piece. I had longed for some time to try my hand at this beautiful hand-carved look, but when my opportunity came along, it wasn't a dresser that enchanted me. Here she is. This is a vintage hard maple bookcase made by the Conant Ball Furniture Company. I purchased it for $20 from a woman who explained that she had just moved from across the country to live with one of her sons and really no longer had the space for it. She was bemoaning the fact that she had paid so much to move all of her belongings, only to then realize she needed to downsize now that she was all settled in. It was then that John actually recognized her plates and asked her where exactly she was from, and it turned out his hometown was just a hop, skip, and a jump from hers. John seemed somehow happy about this little coincidence. I think even though he does love California, in the fall he really misses upstate New York. And who could blame him? So it just seemed like this little solid bookcase was meant to come home with us. You can see that some of its finish was starting to fail and that it had several good scuffs and dings, but that hard maple was definitely living up to its name. This bookcase was strong and sturdy. And while they can seem dated in this honey maple finish, I thought its colonial curved sides and that curved kind of stair-step top would make it perfectly suited for a true style departure. An enchantment dresser inspired look. And so I set to work, giving the bookcase a good cleaning. I made up my usual recipe of Dawn detergent and hot water and started to scrub. If water on furniture gives you the heebie-jeebies, look away. Honestly, all that talk of junk demons had me a little spooked, and I kept hearing all kinds of little noises behind me, but we had recently removed our old garage doors, and until the new ones arrive, we have this old tarp kind of hanging there to protect the furniture pieces, and any little bit of wind that blew would cause that tarp to make the weirdest sounds. Definitely kind of spooky. Okay, after I finished cleaning, I gave the bookcase a quick sanding to even out that finish and to smooth over any dings on the sides. I am planning to do a very textured look, so happily I didn't need to be too careful about getting everything perfectly smooth. Because I was going over a mixture of some finished and also some exposed bare wood, I did a quick layer of Zinsser Bin Shellac primer. Wow, once she was all primed out, I could really start to see how fun those swooping sides would be for the look that I was going to try to create. Okay, so I am going to be using two colors to create this look. I'm going to start with this warm kind of grayish neutral color. It's called Goddess Ashwagandha. It's by Fusion Mineral Paint, and I actually think this one is no longer in production. But honestly, you could use any nice neutral base that you have on hand. It could be more sandy and golden. It could be more of a true white. Just really any kind of nice neutral that you have that you like. I am also using a new to me brush. This is Country Chic's 2-inch oval brush for chalk paint that I have heard so many wonderful things about, and I'm really looking forward to giving it a try. I can tell you already that I was loving how it felt in my hand. It had this great balance to it, and you can see how gorgeously packed it is with all of those synthetic bristles. It just seems like a really great brush. I applied 2 coats of that neutral base in Goddess Ashwagandha using a freestyle brushing technique, not my more typical one direction technique that I use to create a smoother, more modern look. Is that saran wrap?
Henna, was that you all along? Oh, Henna, you scared the daylight out of me, girl. Let's take you inside. Come on. I know.
Phew, well, that was exciting. After I had recovered from my little scare, I got out my decor molds by Redesign with Prima. I chose 3 to work with. This first one is called Cherry Blossom, then Aviary, and this last one is called Bell Orchids. I was all set to get to work when most of Northern California was hit by something called an atmospheric river. Well, John and I brought the little bookcase inside, and Henna and I did a little storm watching. And then I got back to work and got out this amazing casting resin by Alumilite to start making all of the many flora I would need to enchant my bookcase. So this is a 2-part resin that you mix equal parts of, so a 1-to-1 ratio, and then you pour it into whatever mold that you are using. Now, I must tell you, I should be wearing gloves while I'm doing this, and I will admit I'm not, because I didn't want to go back out into the garage in the storm. But that's a really silly excuse. You mix this together for about 30 seconds, and then you want to get to the pouring. As it only has a little bit of open time before it does start to harden up, you can actually feel the material getting warm as those chemicals start to do their reactive job. I wish that I could tell you that I poured this like a boss, but nope. No, I was so messy. I think it would have been easier with a paper cup that I could bend kind of as I was pouring. This hard plastic cup was perhaps part of the problem, but also, try as I might, I generally do not work super clean. I'm a messy cook and I'm a messy painter, but the good news is that it really didn't matter. Look at this hollyhock flower. These molds are so much fun and so cool, and even with my messy, drippy pour, they came out great. Any little excess can be trimmed with scissors or a utility knife, and if you've underpoured and you're worried that the majority of the mold won't be touching the flat surface of your piece, you can sand down those higher outer edges. Okay, so now I started the hard part, deciding where to put my flowers. I knew I wanted to create a little garden scene along the bottom sides of the bookcase, and then I wanted to use those cherry blossoms to create the feeling of a flowering cherry tree kind of enveloping the bookcase. I tried out different flowers in different places, and then I just started gluing with some Gorilla Glue, wiping back any major drips that I saw, and using some painter's tape here and there if any piece seemed like it really didn't want to stay. Although I have to say most of them were just fine without any painter's tape. All the while, I was making more flowers as I went. Here you can see I used a branch with lots of leaves on it to kind of curl over this edge. Something about it made me think of the movie Alien, so I just pulled that one off. You can see that some of the paint is coming off. I'm not at all worried about that because I know I'm going to come back in with more paint and with more texture. So on both of the top sides of the bookcase, I had trained the branches over so that they could then kind of climb along that pretty top piece and meet in the middle. I had them meet up with two of the lighter branches, and then I stood back and gave that a good look and decided that, yeah, the more full blossom would probably look better in that center spot. Because it was just freshly made, I could actually kind of just stick it to the bookcase and stand back again. Yep. Even with it drooping off, I can see that this is what I wanted. So I glued that centerpiece down. So I had lots and lots of these little pieces, little blossoms and differently shaped leaves. And so I sat down in front of the piece and added more and more of those little details until I was happy with what I had. So here is where we are so far. Whew, okay, looking good, but still a ways to go. The next morning, I cleaned up, putting all of those little pieces back into that box because they are certainly still useful. And then I sat down and took another look at the case. Are you seeing what I'm seeing? Or not seeing? Yes, I think that some of the cherry blossom branches really need to be reaching into those inner shelves, which means getting all of those little pieces back out again to see if any would work. And unfortunately, they are not what I needed, so that meant getting the resin mix out again and making one more set of cherry blossoms. While that was setting up, I started painting what I had already attached with that base color of Goddess Ashwagandha, using my brush to make sure I was completely covering all of those details. Then I glued down those new branches I had just made and brought them into the inner part of the bookcase. And after giving that some time to dry, I painted those as well. So now I got out the remainder of my base color and some cornstarch. So oftentimes painters will use water to try to thin out their paint a little, but if you'd like to thicken your paint, you can add some cornstarch, just as if you were thickening a sauce or a soup. If you want your paint to still have a smooth texture, you should first mix the cornstarch with water. But if you don't mind a more bumpy texture, you can just add it directly to your paint. I find that it actually keeps breaking down as you go anyway, and your paint will kind of get more and more smooth as you work. There are, of course, some really great products out there that thicken paint and also add texture to the paint, make it more textural. And they probably do this more effectively and more dramatically. But I knew that I just wanted a little bit, just kind of a subtle amount of texture. And so I had a hunch that good old cornstarch would do the trick. So here you can see I'm applying it all over those molds, using it to kind of soften the look and fill in any cracks that are visible, which really helps to kind of blur that line between the flat wood of the bookcase and the flowers. The more texture I add, the more these two elements seem to kind of become one with one another, which is what gives it more of that carved look. The paint got so thick that I just used the back of the spoon to kind of slather it onto my brush. And you can see how kind of dried out my brush is looking. That's from that cornstarch. After that textured layer of paint had dried, I got out my second color. This is Linen White by Rust-Oleum. It's a chalk paint, but actually, again, you could use any nice white paint that you happened to have and just knew that it was a little bit lighter than your first neutral layer. I actually added a few drops of the Goddess Ashwagandha to the Linen White just to warm it up slightly and give them kind of a linking color quality. And then using an almost dry brush method, I began blending. I am making sure to skiff the tops and the edges of all of those floral details, but also bring that lighter color really all over the piece. As long as I keep my brush dry, this lighter paint really can't get everywhere, and so that darker color is able to still peek through in tiny amounts all over the body of the piece. I did add a little bit of water in that lower shelf to help me with my blending. That's because there aren't any molds that have been recently glued anywhere near that area. Otherwise, I did not use any water. I wanted to keep water far, far away from all of these floral appliques. The net effect is something so soft and so natural and so dreamy. And you just keep going and going. You blend and blend and blend until your happy face appears. That's when you know it's time to put the brush down. Whew. It's a good workout. The last thing I needed to do was to seal up my bookcase. I decided to use my white wax by Jolie. This I knew would work great over that last layer of chalk paint, and also it would help with that softening and blending that I've been working so hard on. Okay, do you remember our out from upstate, down on her luck, hard maple and hard times, normal and boring bookcase? And here she is now. loveliest of trees, the cherry now is hung with bloom along the bough, and stands about the woodland ride, wearing white for Easter tide. Whether she is inviting in the youngest of readers, or maybe helping out in the kitchen, our well-read friend virtually sings with texture. "Come and sit and stay a while," she says. "I'm sure there is something here for you to while away the hours with." For life is far too important a thing to ever talk seriously about. And why, she asks, can't the bookshelf be just as enchanting as the books? I have to say, I was amazed at just how powerfully moving those quiet neutrals became. No shimmer, no color, and yet she seems to have some kind of old world magic, an almost petrified appearance, reminiscent of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And while there is no replacing a hand-carved creation, I think our little bookshelf is creating her own special enchantment. All right, let's talk some numbers. The bookcase cost me $20. The resin was $40. And it took all of that resin to create all of the flowers for this piece. The molds themselves run about $16 to $18, but they are of course reusable, so I will factor in $10 for the use of those. By the way, I ended up only using 2 out of the 3 molds. I found that the mixing of the different versions of the cherry blossom just for whatever reason didn't look right for my project, so just something to keep in mind if you would like to recreate this look. The primer, paint, and wax came in at $25, so that puts my total cost for this bookcase project at $85. This project took me 8 good hours, and if I were to sell it, that's still up in the air. There's some interest in keeping it around as a family piece, but if I were to sell it, I would charge $50 an hour for my work, bringing my cost of labor to $400 and my list price to $485. Maybe that seems like a lot for a bookcase, but here's the thing. This is a quality vintage piece. It's hard maple, and that's what that look should cost. It is time consuming, it's painstaking. There's a lot of thinking and reconsidering and care really that goes into the creation of a piece like this. So that's what I would list it for, if I list it. I hope you enjoyed this enchanting, if not a little bit spooky, furniture fable. Watch out for those piles of furniture. You never know what junk demon or maybe kitty cat might be lurking in them. Have a wonderful holiday, my friends. I will see you next time for more Furniture Fables. Yeah, I'm all done. That's it. Okay, I'm just gonna turn the lights off real quick. Hey, have you seen my tape measure? I need to just run out really quickly and measure the bookcase. Somebody was already asking about the measurements for it. Where? Okay. It's in the garage? Okay. All right. Excuse me. Pardon me, miss.